Hello there, a great evening to you, and thank you very much for joining us from wherever you are. Here on Rwanda Television, we hope you had yourselves a great start to your week. And now this is what makes our top stories. Officials in the Rwanda's Supreme Court have noted that the extremely heavy caseload on the country's court system is a serious problem because it sometimes leads to a delay in justice being served. On Monday, President Paul Kagame appointed new officials to take key administrative, regulatory and service institutions. A great evening to you once again, and thank you for joining us on Rwanda Television News and our news in details. As we begin our edition, let us inform you that pursuant to the Constitution of the Republic of Rwanda, especially in its Article 112, and pursuant also to the law number 14 of 2013 of 25th of March 2013, determining the organization and the functioning of the province, especially in its Article 9. Today, the 4th of September 2023, President Paul Kagame made the following appointments. Mr. Lambert Dushimimana has been appointed as the governor of the Western Province. Ms. Tesi Rusagara has been appointed as the chief executive officer of the Agaciro Development Fund. Mr. Arma Zingiro has been appointed as the chief executive officer of the Rwanda Energy Group, REG. Dr. Omar Munyaneza was appointed as the chief executive officer of WASAC Group. Ms. Giselle Umuhumuza has been appointed as the managing director of WASAC Utilities Limited. And Mr. Evariste Rujigana was appointed as the Director General of the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority, RURA. Dr. Kapor Nagungira has been appointed as the chairperson of the RURA Regulatory Board. Done in Kigali on 4th September 2023, on behalf of His Excellency President Paul Kagame, signed the Prime Minister of the Republic of Rwanda, Edouard Ngirente. And moving on to justice matters, officials in Rwanda's Supreme Court have noted that the extreme heavy caseload on the country's court system is a serious problem because it sometimes leads to delay in justice being served. Meanwhile, officials in the Ministry of Justice given assurances that these and other problems in the country's judiciary are being solved. The report of the 2022-2023 judicial year indicates that of the 112,284 cases that were presented to the courts that year, 98,174 were ruled on, meaning 14,108 became arrears that were passed to the next judicial year. The cases ruled on in 2022-2023 increased by 8,000 compared to the previous judicial year. Allow me to thank especially all the employees of the Rwanda Public Prosecution Authority, investigators, and court system for their hard and good work in general. We will continue working with other institutions to find a solution to the problem of the sector not having enough investigators, prosecutors, and judges when you consider just how much their workload has increased. Indeed, the workload in the country's judiciary has increased so much. Some cases can go for years without being ruled on. As indicated in this year's report of the prosecution, if the number of cases increased from 37,136 in 2005 and were 91,381 last year, and a judge is required to rule 49 cases every month, and the fact that we have 13 courts that basically do not have the proper premises from which to operate from. These are problems that need to be addressed immediately. The general report from the judiciary also indicates that in the High Court, on average, a case lasts 37 months before a ruling can be made. That's basically 3 years. Honorable Chief Justice,
A case lasting that long before a ruling can be made has serious consequences on the general public and their confidence in the court system itself. The Chief Justice agreed that a solution to such problems needs to be found as quickly as possible. Among the most pressing issues in the judiciary is the matter of caseload in courts, as it was noted. Among the most pressing issues in the judiciary is the matter of the caseload in courts, as it was noted, with more cases coming in than can be ruled on quickly, leading to arrears. Then there is the matter of small workforce, but even more worrying is the fact that even the few people we have in the court system are leaving every year, which is why I want to ask the Minister of Justice, who is also the Attorney General of the government, to look into it. This is especially true among judges in the country's primary, intermediate, and commercial courts. As the new judicial year begins, the government is working to address these and other problems in the judiciary. We're not worried about the challenges that have become evident, because the judiciary, working alongside other concerned institutions, is looking for solutions, and some have already been presented as draft laws, and these include increasing available workforce and the efficiency of existing personnel through the use of technology, amending the laws to do with court cases to allow for ample time for mediation efforts before cases are brought to the court, and the establishment of special laws meant to speed up court proceedings for light crimes. This has already begun, and we are seeing good results. During the last judicial year, civil cases involving divorce increased to 3,075, while criminal cases, the vast majority of them, battery and assault, jumped to 18,716.
Former Swedish Prime Minister and currently the chairman of the board of the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, Stefan Löfven, praised the way Rwanda rebuilt itself after the horrors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, thanks to the program of unity and reconciliation.
Stefan Löfven, who is on a working visit to Rwanda, visited the Kigali Genocide Memorial and toured memorial exhibition that details the causes, reality and consequences of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, as well as the incredible stories of post-genocide reconstruction. He later paid tribute to the victims buried there. He expressed his emotions with the way Rwandans managed to emerge from such a tragic history.
We need to learn more about that. How come that you can all of a sudden, from being a neighbor, from being friends, shift into hate and even killing one another, and that is something also that was very clear at this memorial. We'll need to learn more about that. But also, what I think again is so impressive by what Rwanda has done after is this dealing with it in a way that makes it possible to unite as a country again after all these horrific situations, experiences. That is, I think, the very special thing that we have learned, my brother and I, about Rwanda.
Stefan Löfven was also received by the Minister of Defense, Juvenal Madizamunda, for discussions on defense cooperation with the Rwanda Peace Academy, as the director of the institute confirmed.
Yari yahuye na Honorable Minister of Defense kugira ngo baganire.
He met with the Minister of Defense and discussed possible areas of cooperation the Ministry of Defense or the Rwanda Peace Academy can have with his institute. There was also the Swedish ambassador to enable government-to-government collaboration. They expressed commitment to partner with the Rwanda Peace Academy. On Tuesday, Löfven will visit the Rwanda Peace Academy, where he is expected to conduct discussions, followed by exploring areas of collaboration between the two institutes.
The Alliance for Green Revolution, AGRA, has reiterated the need for collective collaboration by governments, policymakers, and all other partners in addressing issues affecting food security on the African continent, including the fast-rising climate change threat. In an exclusive interview with RBA, the president of AGRA, Agnes Kadibata, noted that a number of issues, including the gender gap and exclusion, the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the Russia-Ukraine war, among others, will be discussed in this year's Africa Food Systems Summit in Tanzania.
This Food Systems Forum, which is happening in Dar es Salaam, here in Tanzania, is really geared towards addressing the very challenges we deal with every day, the challenge of recovery from COVID-19, as you have seen the theme of the meeting, but also the challenge of deciding and working together to find action and actionable things that we have to do going forward so that we can be able to start addressing some of these challenges. The issue of climate change has to be addressed. And the issue of climate change needs all of us. So that's why it has to be addressed at a forum like this. There's no one single country and there's no one single population or group of people that are going to sort these problems out. It's only when we come together as a community to talk and discuss these challenges, to discuss what we are doing right, what we are doing wrong, the opportunities that we see that are sitting in our midst, that we solve these problems. So really, this is building on the potential of a community that has come together like this to be able to have some of the candid and difficult conversations that we must have and be able to address some of these challenges. We have about 33 ministers coming from different countries on the continent. We have private sector here, we have farming community here. So it's an opportunity for all of us to start understanding what is missing, what is it that we are doing right, and what is it that we are doing wrong. So it's a dialogue, it's an opportunity for dialogue between all these groups of people. The focus of this year on youth and women is recognizing that inclusion is one of the most important things that we must focus on, because starting with COVID-19, going into the Russia-Ukraine war and the resulting cost of living crisis, we see that the impact is largely on inclusion and exclusion, where we see that people don't have the ability to access the same level of nutrition like they were accessing before. For the same amount of money, you are accessing so much less food. So, and this is impacting communities and people that are already not part of the food system. And usually you find that poor communities, women that have to deal with feeding of their children, and young people that don't have jobs are mostly impacted. So that's why we thought that this bringing together conversation that allows us to focus on some of the biggest challenges that our communities are facing for youth and women is going to be very important. So the launch of AGRA strategy in the different countries at this point in time is very intentional, because it helps us focus on the fact that it's time for action. We are, as an institution that is helping lead on AGRF, are prepared to start acting in the field in the countries where we're working. And we are mobilizing and urging and encouraging other people to do the same. We want to build a community that is prepared to act. So we are showing that we are not just talking about this, but we are prepared to act. In each of these countries, we have clear programs that we are going to be implementing. We have clear resources that we are taking to these countries. And we want our partners and people that think like us, that are interested in the same things, to do the same things in the countries, in these countries and other countries around the continent. So it's really about putting our best foot forward. So Africa's solution to Africa's problems recognizes that we really need to start thinking about what it means to solve some of the challenges we are living with. Knowledge is global. But how we bring knowledge together and how we package it to solve our problems is going to depend on the type of challenges each person, each community is facing. We have huge capacities in institutions like AGRA. We have huge capacities in the countries that come here to the AGRF, the ministers. So this is an opportunity for them to discuss what is it that we can do in country? What is it that we can learn from each other? And how can we build that community of learning from each other so that what is happening in our countries is really borrowing and being able to borrow from what different countries are doing. And then being able to really ensure that we can support each other in this problem. It's also creating a feeling of hope around how we can work together to solve the problems we're working with. I mean, transformation does not come from conferences like this. Transformation comes from us being prepared once we've had these major conferences, us being prepared to put resources on the table. So just to give you an example, during this week, we expect that here in Tanzania, we have a major program around mobilizing partners and mobilizing resources around a program that could be transformative in this country, in Tanzania. It will start with the Tanzanian government itself putting resources on the table. It will start with partners of Tanzania putting resources on the table. It's those type of things that will be transformative. It's those type of programs that will reach farmers. And then it's the whole idea of managing the challenges of climate change, the challenges of cost of living crisis that are impacting farmers and individuals in general, that come from agreements, that come from meetings like this, that will impact them. So I would say that to farmers and the communities that are out there, we are here to listen. We are here to be part of having a conversation that can start solving some of the challenges we work with every day, so that they are not isolated. They are not feeling like their problems are not being seen. They're not feeling like nobody really cares about the type of challenges they go through every day. Our job is to make sure, right here in this conference, to make sure that these challenges are becoming continental, are becoming global, especially the challenge of climate change. Everybody must appreciate that African farmers are suffering from climate change, and they are not responsible for climate change.
AGRA's President Agnes Kalibata speaks as the Food Systems Summit kicks off in Dar es Salaam. So, moving on, the renowned actor Winston Duke, celebrated for his role as M'Baku in Black Panther movie, was among 23 people that were granted Rwandan citizenship on Monday. Duke made headlines recently as one of the gorilla and namers at the 19th Kwitizina gorilla naming ceremony. During the event, he bestowed the name Inharumikwa, meaning a resilient giant, upon a baby gorilla, paying tribute to his late mother's conservation values. Via his X, formerly Twitter handle, the Hollywood superstar expressed gratitude for acquiring the Rwandan nationality. He said, and I quote, "Today is a truly auspicious and memorable day for me and my sister, Dr. Cindy Duke. It is our continental birthday. We officially become naturalized Rwandan citizens," he went ahead to say. So, born on November 15th, 1986 in Argelin, St. Paul, Trinidad and Tobago, Duke spent his formative years in Brooklyn, New York, with his family relocated when he was 9. The actor has garnered acclaim for his roles in blockbuster films such as Black Panther and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, US Avengers Endgame, and Avengers Infinity War, among different other movies that he acted in. And now, moving ahead, President William Ruto of the Republic of Kenya has told participants at this year's Africa Climate Change Summit that the blame game between developed and developing countries or nations on the issue of climate change needs to stop so that long-term solution can be found.
Despite efforts over the last 3 decades to deal with the problem of climate change, it has only gotten worse, which is why President Ruto is stressing that there is no time for the blame game between developed countries and developing nations.
This is no ordinary summit. We are not here just to talk about Africa or climate change in the usual way, which often accentuates our divisions. You all remember the North versus South, developed versus developing, polluters versus victims, and the whole of that conversation.
The president also pointed out that much needs to be done if Africa is to be able to harness the benefits of renewable energy, especially when you consider that even conventional energy sources have remained a problem on the continent.
The numbers are stark. Nearly 600 million Africans lack access to electricity. Another 150 million grapple with unreliable power. And almost 1 billion have no access to clean cooking energy. But the abundance of our renewable resources, the possibilities offered by new technologies, and opportunities created by new climate financing offers enormous possibilities for us. We have the capability to provide reliable and cost-effective energy access to all Africans by 2030.
Emphasis on cooperation has also been stressed if anything tangible is to be attained.
Africa, the equal partner in this endeavor, is offering its huge potential. We already know innovation in Africa is astounding. So how can we accelerate this development through green technology and energy, and in doing so, taking the necessary actions to keeping 1.5 within reach? First, we must address finance. Climate action, just like everything else in life, costs money.
This is the inaugural Africa Climate Change Summit to be held, and its resolutions will be presented at COP28 in the United Arab Emirates towards the end of this year.
On Monday, the Speaker of the Rwandan Parliament, Donatil Mukabadisa, received a delegation from the Parliament of Ghana's Committee on Local Government and Rural Development, who are in Rwanda for a benchmarking visit. Discussions focused on possible areas of collaboration between the Rwandan and the Ghanaian parliaments for the benefits of the people, both countries that they represent. Later on, the delegation met with the Committee on National Budget and Patrimony of the Parliament of Rwanda. They exchanged the ideas and best practices regarding policies on revenue mobilization in support of the infrastructure and other developmental needs of the people. The chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on National Budget and Patrimony in the Rwandan Parliament, Professor Omar Munyaneza, noted that there are various areas that the two parliaments can partner into.
This is the Committee on Local Government and the local government, which has been visiting us to the Parliament of Rwanda. They are just coming to see how the budget resource mobilization is done to the local communities for infrastructure and the developmental issues in their areas. So they have learned from us how we do it, where we give to them the example of the city of Kigali, where the communities, they sit together and collect 30% of the money needed to construct a road. Then the city of Kigali top up on 70% remaining. Then they have these neighborhoods roads. So they were very interesting on this to hear how Rwanda has been done to mobilize the community, the citizens, then they do it for the ownership. The other thing they were happy with was this program of Girinka, 1 cow per house, where they said this is a good program that they can introduce in their country. They said if we have it, this will be also good for our countries. For some similarities, this is what I can say. They said how they are analyzing the budget is the same, the process they do for Rwanda, but the difference, they said when they analyze the budget, the national budget, because they have the constituents, it is just done into the committees, not at the plenary level, the parliament. Because they said if the program, a project is related to education or infrastructure, the minister comes to the committee, their committee, and discuss on that about the budget needed. But once it comes to the parliament, it is just for approval. They don't give more comments. This was the difference on how we do it, because in our parliament, we give to the government the comments on where this budget framework paper can be improved. And once they bring back the draft state finance law, we have to cross-check if the comment given by the member of parliament has been considered. So this was somehow a bit different. And what we learned from them, they were asking if we have the budget office, which can help us to do more analysis on this budget. But we said that we don't have it, but we are also having the skilled staff who are also helping the budget committee to do more analysis of the budget.
Honorable Suleiman Adam Sanid, head of the Ghanaian delegation, uploaded the role of the Rwandan parliament that it has played in the country's transformation journey.
We've interacted with the Speaker of Parliament. We've also interacted with the Committee on Budget and Patrimony. They've given us briefing on what you do here in terms of your budgeting processes. And then in terms of local governance, this afternoon we'll be meeting the Association of Local Government Authorities. And we believe that this exchange program will help us to get more insight into what you are doing, the best practices that we can also emulate and then incorporate into our politics or our political system. Talking to them and then getting the presentation, what is coming up strongly is issues of how you handle local governance at the lowest level, that is the community level. And of interest to us is the issue of a neighborhood road construction fund or arrangement or program, where the neighborhood contributes, each house will contribute something, and then government comes in with 70% to augment that, so that you can actually fast-track development. This is a bit novelty to us, and we think that it's worth considering.
And I'll transition it to health matters now. The Minister of Health, Dr. Sabin Nsanzimana, finds that there should be programs aimed at increasing the standards of the healthcare workers in order to improve the service delivery in this particular sector. Adam Squizera with more.
Various residents across the African continent, including Rwanda, demonstrate various challenges they face due to the poor quality of medical service delivery.
There
is a very serious issue here, because for us to get a service, we have to first pay. Like for me, I spent almost 2 hours on queue waiting to submit my medical test. The issue of this poor service delivery in healthcare services is related to the inadequacy of doctors, where one doctor serves 5,000 patients. Here, the healthcare practitioners points out the major cause of this issue.
For example, you have a trained healthcare workforce staff deployed to work in a hospital, in a particular hospital in the rural, but they are moving with their families, the children, the wives. So you would also see ways to plan what happens to the children when the doctor is deployed or the nurse is deployed to work in the rural area. So are there schools? How is the transportation like? Do they have financial means to cover for all of that if they can't move together to the new position of the health staff that has been deployed? Others also is to prepare people psychologically, because people, they might go to school thinking like, I want to stay in Kigali, for example, or I want to stay in Rubavu, for example, but you are deployed to work where there is a need. So it's a need-driven deployment.
In the 25th annual conference of the Association of the Medical Councils of Africa, which aims to improve the healthcare service delivery, which literally needs an increase of the practitioners who are still inadequate. We need to look how we can discuss together in order to increase the number of health practitioners, so that every patient would be eligible to access healthcare services and also contribute to their healthcare service delivered to them. Healthcare migration issue is mostly linked with the patient migration, which needs the high-standard healthcare workers to cope up with it, as was stated by the Minister of Health, Dr. Sabin Sanzimana.
So we've been struggling many decades as a continent to try to bridge this gap. And what is happening is that we are leaving this task, this homework to the generations behind us. So the homework or the task I want to leave with you, as I said before you retire, but the good thing is that retirement doesn't, this vocabulary doesn't exist. It's also good because we still need you. So please help Africa, help ourselves to change the way we train our healthcare workers, others in our health systems, both in numbers, but also in the standards, the quality of the providers we want.
This 25th annual conference is expected to focus and provide best practices in health regulations on this continent. Adams Kwizera, RTV News.
Many thanks for being with us on this edition, and on behalf of the entire news and production team, we thank you immensely for being with us. Up until next time, stay safe and have a great week ahead. Goodbye.